The stream is live. Yes, it is live. The audience will see it at the moment. Get ready. You are live. It says you are live. Welcome to the Sunday service with me, Bob Flavin, who is here to entertain you for the next little while. Well, it's not going to entertain you, but I'm here for the next couple of while if you wish to join in this little community of ours that's growing rapidly. We're just at 30,000 subscribers, which has been a bit of a crazy ride this last couple of months. 33 and a third has just arrived. Oren Desmond, good man. Oren Desmond has arrived as well. There's loads of these coming in. Hang on. Up the cats, Dan and Kilkenny. George Falls is in the house. We're all coming in now. I can't pronounce that name. Cyril Alter Ego. It's very good to have you all here. It's really nice to have you on the Sunday service. We are live today. We weren't live last week because I was tired. I know I wasn't. I was doing a family thing last week. Some of you who follow me on Instagram will have noticed by now that I'm cycling a lot. This morning I did 52 kilometers or something on bike. I'm training for the Ring of Clare. It's a Skoda backed event. So Skoda have given me little toolkits and things, pumps and all sorts of yokes, all for the bike that I'm riding on. It's 160 kilometers in a day on the actual ride itself. So I'm going to do that on the 28th of July this month. If you're going to be down there, if you're coming down or you want to be there, I will be in the race. I'll be dressed head to toe in Skoda gear. So you won't miss me. Put it that way. You definitely won't miss me. You'd see me from space. But it'd be really good if you could support. That'd be brilliant. There's no charity event, and you can come on down if you want to. Be absolutely fabulous. It'd be great to ride along with people. Legs are in good condition so far. I've been cycling since maybe 3 or 4 years old. So and I kind of stopped when I found cars at 17. So I have the cycle muscles. A very different thing from the run muscles, which is good as well. Murphy's asking the Land Rover Discovery Sport opinion. I like Land Rovers. I like Range Rovers too. Land Rover, they have a problem with the position of the back on the tailgate, and they put in the wrong kind of license plate. Instead of a square one, they put a sort of rectangular one. So it looks kind of weird on the back. But I kind of like Land Rover Discovery. I don't like the Sport one. I think the Sport one is like sort of a cheat version of it. The Discovery is the better car, and Range Rover Vogue, if you just want the best car that ever was invented by anybody. Simple as that. It's just a giant, lovely, gorgeous car to drive. But Land Rover Discovery Sport is quite nice, but I just think it's a bit on the small side. It's a lot of money for a small-ish kind of car. Daryl Bong says, on live on the big screen in the pub. You have me I'm streaming on the big screen in the pub. Okay, that's cool. Hello, pub. How's everybody in the pub? Any questions there, text me. It's always good. It's a bit echoey here today or something, isn't it? It seems very roomy on the volume. Oh, yeah. Do you like the new or the old Peugeot 508? The new, by miles, Mo Carey. The new. The 508. You will, if you go out today, if the 508 was here. I was driving pre-production models in Monaco recently. But if you put them side by side today, the current model, the one you can buy right now in Peugeot, will feel old hat compared to the one that's on the way. The new model that's on the way is an amazing piece of kit. You will not regret holding out for it. Hold on. If they continue the way they're continuing right now, if they don't mess up things or change anything in the car, it's going to be a really good seller car for them. They're probably going to want to make it a little bit cheaper, so they probably will cut something. But right now it looks really good. The legs are hanging on absolutely perfectly well, Eric Rochford. Getting a tan this stage. You have 53 kilometers this morning on the bike. I've done this week 153 kilometers on the bike since Wednesday. So doing very, very well actually. It's very good. It's brilliant for Scots to do it. But the most important part to thank people today is, of course, clearwater.ie. If you have the chance to go over to our website, clearwater.ie, and just click on the links there. They do bulk chemicals for anyone in the country. All kinds of things can be done with chemical stuff on their end of it. Have a look at the website. It's very informative actually. Look around the website there. Have a route around there and you see what I'm talking about. But they make this show, not just this show, but make the whole channel possible by backing it up with some sponsorship. If you're interested in sponsoring this show or interested in sponsoring me to do an event or come to your event or whatever it is, we'll come up with something. Then please feel free. Get in touch with me. bobflav@thenextgear.com. You can email me anytime you wish. I am always available. I get hundreds of emails a day, so if it's try and get my attention with email. There's a lot of emails. Stephen at Hunden Valley Homes. That's a very long username, Stephen. Peugeot 3008 GT or new Qashqai Tekna. Peugeot 3008, please. Qashqai feels a little bit, if you're not used to Japanese cars, I think it might be something to do with that. The interior feels kind of plasticky compared to the Peugeot 3008. And I know they're on the same chassis, same sort of engine setup and things. There's a lot of that going on as they mess around with who's driving what and where it came from and how they're swapping technologies and stuff out there. And I know Peugeot and Nissan are competitors, but realistically, I think the 3008 is a better buy. It's a nicer car. It will probably hold its value just about as well as the Nissan Qashqai, as the market is rather flooded with Qashqais at the moment because it is still the top selling car out there at the moment. But it's a good car, Qashqai, but I think 3008 has it on looks. Pat O'Reilly says, Bob, tell us more about the 508. Is going to bring back the demand in the segment. Looks at the business. I think, Pat, if Peugeot targeted properly at the commercial segment, or if they go after the kind of fleet car market, I think it's going to light a little fire in that segment again, because it's very desirable, and I think it might actually draw people back away from the small SUV and more into the 5-door or 4-door saloon, particularly when the estate version comes out, which I've seen pictures of. Looks really, really good. Looks gorgeous. If they go the RHX route, and they did tell us that on 2019, 2020, they're going to have an electric version of these cars as well, a hybrid, a PHEV. So there's a lot of activity in that segment now. Peugeot have been slightly ahead of the curve on what they've been doing with SUVs and things along the way. So they had the 508, 5008, the 3008 are both out and done, and that's their segment filled. So they're selling, and their sales are up against and bucket the market trends in Ireland and across Europe. So they're doing well. So if they bring the 508 and maybe really make a go of the 508 in that segment, it's going to be a very important car for them. And it may actually just start bringing that segment back to where it should be. There was a new Audi Q3 spotted in minimal camouflage, looking for a reveal soon. Yeah, Audi are ponderously moving ahead with their launches. I would say it's the best way to put it. Nothing really solid or going for it. Just the car comes out and then it just arrives in your showroom. No big kind of reveal, launchy things going on. We'll see what to do with the Q3. I've never really an exciting car. Audi don't make exciting cars, and for that, that's good. It's good for you. It's good for us, because they just make bloody good cars rather than just exciting things. Now, they get excited when they get to the RS level, of course. RS3, there's a video on my channel. RS4, there's a video on the way out for that. I haven't had the car yet, but it was crashed last time I tried, but I'll have it soon. Afternoon, Brian Cullen. Are you doing the 120 or 160 kilometer ring of Clare? I think I'm going to do the 160. It's not a giant leap from the 120, and there's 2 brakes on it, and there's 2 mechanic stops. So I don't know, I think I'll just try the 160. I went out this morning. The first time I've done 53, 54 kilometers in the saddle, and it was relatively effortless. A couple of niggles, a couple of pains, some adjustments to make to the bike. I might move the saddle forward by a couple of micro inches, and I have to change some of the derailleur settings on the back. Somewhere around 4th or 5th, it seems to just want to stay there, and then it just suddenly starts flicking between 4th and 5th. So I have some change to make. It's a very sophisticated, very sensitive bike. It's like driving a Ferrari versus driving a Kia. It's totally different. So a lot of changes. I'm building a little team of people as well to give me a hand. There's guys in Tullamore who put their hand up. Donna, who's put his hand up as a mechanic, bike mechanic. He runs a bike shop over in Tullamore. He said, no problem, come on over, we'll do some adjustments and make all the bike work for you perfectly. So here's a local guy, just get his proper details. It is called Tullamore Cycle Centre, so a big shout out to those guys over there who immediately said, bring your bike over here, we'll get it sorted for you. But that's on the way. So 28th of this month, come down to Ennis in County Clare, and we're going to do a 160 kilometer cycle. My first time ever doing that kind of length. I have done 0 training. My training has been running for the last 3 years, and now suddenly I'm getting a bicycle and I'm going to do 160 kilometers on that. Audi has not released a configuration for the new 2019 A6 for UK and Ireland. Well, I know, but it'll be the standard. That's the segment. A6 never really changes much, just kind of moves on. James Dunn, Jim, the bus driver, saying hi. Come on, Jim. Good to have you aboard. Bob, not sure if you're into the DIY, but have you ever seen anyone in charge of a wheel using an impact drill? An impact drill while driving? No. I haven't seen anyone use an impact drill while driving. Do you want to chance that there, Brian? Go to Mondello and go down the main straight and see if you can use an impact drill while you're driving. Sorry, I've read the question wrong. Bob, you're sure not into DIY, but have you ever seen anyone change a wheel using an impact drill? No, I haven't. You shouldn't do that. There's specific, old-fashioned, you might have done something like a drill, but there's specific torque drills for removing wheel nuts. So you could, but impact drill would be crazy. You would over-torque, and over-torque means you're going to wring the nut, or you're going to do damage, or you're going to make... What you can do is put the nut on backwards and make the hole in the wheel oval, and then it completely screws up your wheels. So don't use drills, just use the normal thing. You don't need to really hand tighten nuts when they're on the car. Do you like the new Audi A6 or the outgoing model? Don't know yet. I hesitate to say that I like anything new when I have never driven it. Until I sit in something. You can always like the look of something, but actually driving is a different story entirely. What are your thoughts on the CLS you had on test? I still have it on test, sit outside the front door. Absolutely outstanding work from Mercedes, but you pay through the nose. That one's 87,000 euro. You have to get the glass screen. Massive problem is when you put it into Apple CarPlay mode, that it is not a touchscreen. Audi have the same problem as well. It's not a touchscreen. It's really fiddly in Apple CarPlay mode. And Apple CarPlay is one of the easiest modes to use. It's like beginner mode on touchscreens. The rest of the car is phenomenal. Don't really like the back end of it, but the front is gorgeous. Just it really sets a trend. Gorgeous looking car. Very happy to drive that thing around for the rest of the week. It goes back tomorrow, but it is outstanding in its field. Very unique, and I might have it over an Audi A7. But I love those lights in the Audi A7, which are quite good. Mr. Millennium 67 is in the house. Hi, Bob. Bob, my aircon in my 2012 Insignia stinks to high heaven, so don't use it. Does it mean I need to change the pollen filter or something else, you think? Yes, there is two reasons behind that. If you're getting a smell from your air conditioning, it is a buildup of bacteria, usually caused by water, because aircon is actually driven the very same as a fridge. So your fridge in your house has a little electric chiller in it. The electric chiller cuts in. It uses a gas to get cold very quickly. Air is sucked in through one side and then it's blown in through the cabin as it comes out through the other side. And through the two of them, if you ever notice, when you turn off your car, you've been running your air conditioner for a while, you turn off your car and you look underneath your car, there's a little puddle of water. That water is coming off the condenser, which is inside the engine bay. So that's the air conditioning condenser thing. The water just builds up on the outside of that. It just drips off. It's totally harmless as it is. But inside you have a pollen filter which you pull the air through the pollen filter. Sometimes that gets a build-up of bacteria and filth on it. That can cause a smell. The other time it can actually just be the tubing that's coming up from the air conditioning condenser into the cabin itself. If any of that water that's on the condenser gets into the tube and it begins to stagnate inside it, and bacteria builds up, and when you turn on the air conditioning, it stinks. You kind of got two solutions to that. One is you could use an antibacterial spray. There is antibacterial sprays out there you can buy. You can get them in Halfords or any parts department thing. You could have an air conditioning top up, so that top up would actually cause the bacteria to die as well, or run the air conditioning for a long time. Also works, believe it or not. It kind of dries it out. So taking a nice good drive and run the air conditioning the whole time with the windows open, let it draw in air from everywhere. It kind of dries out the system. Usually air conditioning build up, the smell is attached to, unfortunately, Opel cars do have this problem. It's their air conditioning system that causes that problem, but it can happen to anybody. It's generally water in the system that's stagnating. Change the pollen filter is probably the cheapest way out. You build it yourself. Changing pollen filters and air filters in the car are usually one of the simplest things to do. Usually the pollen filter sits in front of the air filter, or vice versa. So it's around there somewhere. Rob Carson, the British Grand Prix is on. What are you doing, man? I know, the British Grand Prix. Oh yeah, another pile of rich people going meow, meow, meow around the track. It's just like, what? Who cares? They're always on. Sure, the GP is on the whole time. Sorry, I just pulled a hair off the windscreen there. I do have to a moment to remember William Dunlop, who is Joey Dunlop's relative and another member of the Dunlop family who died yesterday in a crash in the Skerries 100, which is on today, a motorbike road race on today. So he passed away yesterday in a crash. Things do happen. It's that kind of sport. It's always happened, that kind of sport. It's not just their sport, obviously, but it is one of the more hazardous one. Road racing. It has a very long heritage in Ireland, but the Dunlop family have given more than most to it. It's better than the Formula 1, I can tell you. What's the best driver's car you've ever driven? Currently, the one that sticks in my mind really easily is the Audi RS3. Another one I've driven is a BMW M2, which is quite good, but not as good as the RS3. The RS3 absolutely murders it on every front. It is an amazing car to drive in every situation. But if you can't stretch to the RS3, a car that sticks in my mind really well is the Volkswagen Golf R. That is crazy. Crazy. I drifted that thing, 4-wheel drift, coming out of a junction, and just a wet junction. Just like 2 miles an hour drift. Beautiful. Great crack. But that's a really good car. That's Golf GTI will give you a good crack as well, but Golf R does it on a different level. Andy McAfee is in the house. Good man. Whoa, let's skip forward. Ricky Finley says, hi Bob, going to my mind set on the Skoda Superb. As for safety and a lot of interior room, what do you think? Yep. You're not going to get bigger car for that money. There's nothing else in that segment is as big and roomy inside. Generally speaking, there wouldn't be much to touch it on fuel economy either, so you're in that same area. If you can manage to get a DSG one, a modern version DSG, definitely go for it. Don't people go, oh yeah, DSG it'll break down. It won't break down. It'll be fine. Try and get low mileage. Example, if you're buying used, get the estate one if you really want a ton of room in it. And it looks really good as well, in fairness to the estate one. Electric tailgate is nice, be a bonus, not necessary. But after that, you'll have everything you want out there, because Skoda tend to put in all the good options that you need. Mo Carey, I think, works for Audi. Do you? Audi has planned to reveal a new model every 3 weeks, but only did 5 so far. I don't know, Audi just on a weird run of things lately. Just seem to bring out new car, and just throw them onto the heap of cars that are out there already. They're doing very well. They're doing a little bit better than Mercedes and far better than BMW. BMW might be in a little bit of trouble, but we'll see where BMW go with that. It might not be in that much trouble yet. James Dunn saying hello again. That's Jim the bus driver. Good man. There's Petrolhead needs new pollen filter, and maybe it needs to be regassed. That's another one as well there for you, Brian. It's about your smelly air conditioning. Nothing like smelly. Generally, air conditioning that's smelly just hasn't been run very much, as well as the other end of it. So Irish people tend to turn it off because we don't really get that much extreme weather. Right now, we're in the middle of a drought. We haven't had this kind of long-term temperature for 15 years, maybe more, since we've had this kind of long-term heat that's there right now. So everybody's air conditioning is broke, which is why I see most of the garages at the moment have air conditioning regassing signs out the front, because they're trying to make some money of it. PSA got screwed over with the Opel acquisition. Nothing really in development. Fleet emissions dependent on 50,000 Ampera E sales for 50k. GM refused to allow due diligence talks to Opel staff in DE. I kind of agree, and it was kind of a resentful thing, I think, on behalf of Opel getting sold out by GM. I don't think Opel wanted to be part of PSA Group, and I think they knew what was going to happen. The big problem for Opel was they were being bought out by a group, and the group already has most of those jobs in place. So Opel was going to be duplicating a lot of jobs that PSA already did. I'm talking about development jobs, I'm talking about chassis jobs, engineering jobs, but I'm also talking about office work, just plain working in an office. You don't need someone just to be, I don't know, making the tea or something in Opel when there's one making the tea in Peugeot. So it's a difficult place for Opel to be. And then, so I think there's a bit of resentment in that factor, and I also think there's a little bit of resentment on the Peugeot side, because it's a French company buying a German company. So it's, Germans and French companies are very competitive when it comes to the car segment. So it's a tough place to be. We won't know where Opel's going to be for another 2 or 3 years. I think they don't really have a great range of cars at the moment, and the stuff they have in development is basically a duplication of what Peugeot's already selling with a different dress on it. So it's a different place. It's a hard place to be. And Peugeot seem to be on a run. They really are pushing themselves forward now. Part of that comes from being able to take Opel's bits and pieces, their parts bins, and use that. So it's a tough place. We won't know what Opel's going to be like for maybe 3 years, I think. What do you think of the new Audi e-tron Sportback having side camera replacing the actual side mirrors? Bad idea. Yes, that is a disastrous idea. Should not be done. Do not replace a perfectly operational mechanical thing that works 100% of the time and perfectly accurately that we're all used to with something that's electronic that will definitely break eventually. It'll always break. Anything electronic breaks. Nothing ever lasts forever. The only thing that ever lasts forever is a physical mechanical thing like a mirror. Mirrors just work. It's like taking the knobs away and putting up on the touchscreen. What happens when the touchscreen doesn't work someday? What happens when you get in, turn the key, and the touchscreen's broke? It's going to happen, sure, but knobs never break. Ask anyone who drives a 1950s car why the heating still works, because the knobs never break. It's just that simple. What is multi-link rear suspension? Whoa, there's a big broad screen. Okay. First, you have to find out what suspension is before you go what multi-link rear suspension is. So suspension is two components that keep the car from wallowing, keep the car from bouncing up and down. So you have a shock absorber, which initially takes the punch of something hitting it, like a pothole or a bump on the ground. But also in there you have another suspension components, which are full of bushings, little rubber pieces that all move when the wheel is going around, right? So as the wheel is going around this way, it's going up and down and moving left and right. And the shock absorber absorbs the shocks of that, but the links inside the suspension system absorb the rest of the kind of normal road surface that happens. Multi-link is just a way of saying there's more than one link. Instead of having a shock going up and down and a link going to the axle, they have many links going to different parts of the chassis. So a chassis doesn't look like, people would draw a chassis like a T and a T upside down from each other and a line in the middle of it. It doesn't look like that anymore. A chassis is actually an integral part of the body in all sorts of places these days. So multi-link rear suspension means that it's more sophisticated, it's more comfortable, it's also more expensive. It's like McPherson strut front suspension and things. It's more expensive, but it is more comfortable generally. So if you're into suspension, you're into comfort, they're the kind of ones you want. McPherson strut in the front, you want multi-link in the rear, and you're going to get better handling. You're also going to have the ability of towing in and out the top of your wheels. So when you go around a corner really hard, the back won't fold under itself. That's also part of multi-link. So that's suspension struts coming out. So it's quite complicated, but it's all there. It's all very, very important. And suspension is part of your braking system. So when you hit the brakes, suspension plays its role in the middle of that as well. Greetings from Peru, says Martin Emi. Greetings. Thanks. It's good to have you here. Welcome to Ireland. Brian Cullen says, thanks for the aircon. Excellent. Road racing is a crazy sport. Those guys are brave and a little bit mad. I think they're more mad than brave. I think there's an element of that. There's also an element of the desire to speed, the desire to be as fast as you can possibly be. But you're in an environment on roads where it's a little bit more unpredictable than a racetrack. Because, you know, I could go up and run Mondello now 50 laps. And then come back next year and run 50 laps, and it'll probably be kind of the same. It won't really have changed all that much unless they've made major alterations during the year. Whereas roads get roadworks, potholes, cambers, you know, weird junctions, little jumps where there wasn't last year, little dimples in the road and things where it all changes. So even if you're an incredibly experienced person on an experienced track, you still can't take it for a guarantee that you're going to make it all the way through this. So it's really scary stuff. But that's what they know what they're signing up for. I mean, it's not like you can't say, oh man, it's a tragic loss. It is a tragic loss, but he knew what he was doing, and he knew what he was signing up for, and he knew the history, and he's a fierce, nice guy. I met him at an event one time. Incredibly nice guy. And everybody says nice guy. I only briefly met him, so I don't really know him, but I met him briefly. He seemed really, really nice and open about things. Ray Mulvaney says, hi. Hi, Ray. Andy McPhee says, utterly devastated by William Dunlop's passing yesterday. Proper gentleman, and expecting their second baby at the moment too. Jeez, that's tough. Does anyone know if his brother Michael's still racing today? I don't know. I saw yesterday there's like 4 or 5 members of the same family have been lost to road racing from the Dunlop family, which the most famous would have been Joey Dunlop, of course, at the time. But you know, it's got to be a tough place, a really tough place to be. When you're a race driver, if that's your life, that's your job. That's your job. You know, You don't know what's going to happen from day to day, but road racing is particularly dangerous. Doesn't mean I'm interested in curbing it or changing it. They know what to sign up for. It's an exciting sport, and people come to see it because it's that exciting. And that's why the Skerries 100 is going on today. All of the proceeds from the Skerries 100 today is going to the Dunlop family. All of it, including all the prize money and everything else, is all being donated out, and it's all gone to the family. So if you can go along or you can support in some way, I'm sure you can do something about it. Cruiser Zone says you can get an early Mark 7 Golf R from the UK for about 13 grand. Don't know about that. Mark 7. Yeah, that's the current Golf R. Yeah, they're really good. Really nice. Bob, you're right about the aircon not being run. I bought the car 3 months ago and hadn't used it at all. Probably wasn't used for months before that either. That's exactly what goes on. It's stagnant water. Imagine if you had a pond in your backyard and you just left it there for 3 months and came back to it and then just got in and expected to be able to swim in lovely clear water. That's exactly what's happening inside the tubing that comes out of your air conditioning system. Up until about 10 years ago, not even 10 years ago, 5 or 7 years ago, most dealerships in the country wouldn't deal with air conditioning there because we never had it. Nobody experienced, and it's really dangerous. Like the gas is Freon gas now. It's really dangerous. But now you can buy little refill cans and stuff in Halfords. Don't do that. If you can, spend the money, get a professional guy who spent the money on the training courses and does air conditioning for a living if you really need it to be looked at. But I would, first off, I'd go to the local parts dealer or mixed garage or something like that. I'd buy the air filter and the pollen filter for my car, and then I'd buy a Haynes manual and find out where the air conditioning system works, and I would take apart the pollen filter and do all that, clean it all out, give it a wipe out with a dry rag, make sure it's all dry inside, put it in the 2 pollen filters, and then just run the air conditioner for a few hours. Make sure it gets cold. Put your hand over it. When you start it up, it should be warm, and then after a couple of minutes you start to hear the engine. The tick over the engine will drop down, the air conditioner will cut in, you put your hand over the front, and the air conditioner is getting cold. Even if it's smelly, it should at least get cold. At least you know it's working then. That means the air conditioner, the fridge part, is working. If it's not getting cold at all, then it's not working. It needs to be regassed at least, or it's broke like my air conditioner in the bloody Leon. Hi Bob, what cars are you going to see next? Honda Civic Type R is on the way. I did a special little video with Waters Garage in Kildare Town for the Seat Arona. I wanted to test a 1 litre, little tiny 1 litre petrol, so I did that. That's on the way as well. I have hundreds of videos. The Mercedes CLS outside the door. I have a vlog to come from Monaco where I go and see the Prince Regent's car collection in Monaco. So I did that as well. I got to go in a helicopter, didn't film that. But I got everything else. It was a great trip. So I have that to come as well. Tons of videos to come. Honest to God, if you haven't subscribed at this stage, you should be subscribed. And listen, click the little bell icon as well. Don't forget the bell thing at the bottom. Because then you just get a little notification on your phone or whatever device you want. Whenever I upload a video, so you don't miss anything. You know, that's what happens. People always complain that they miss a video, and you go, well, just click the bell, and they go, no, what's a bell? It's beside the bleeding subscribe button. Sorry, getting a drink of tea there. Audi A6 all-road 3 litre TDI Q or regular 3 litre TDI. I love the all-road, but it's a hell of a lot more expensive than a standard Audi A6 3 litre TDI. But there is an awful lot more stuff on the all-road. The all-road is DSG. The all-road is 4x4. It is elevated, has slightly different suspension, and has a lot of plastic fairings on the outside, which are kind of like mock off-road things. And it actually has a tougher, sump guard underneath as well. So there's a bit more stuff done to the all-road, but you have to look for it to see the difference in price. You have to root around finding it. I would buy, for myself, I'd have no need for an all-road. So I'd buy a 3 litre TDI Audi A6 Avant and leave it at that. No worry about all-road part, but I do like the all-road. It's lovely. If you can get a bi-turbo, it makes a great noise. The bi-turbo is gorgeous. I actually have a video on my channel of the first drive of that. I drove it in Neckarslum in the Audi headquarters where they build them. Road potholes can cause car and bike accidents. Yes, of course can. Yeah, if the pothole's big enough, it can swallow a tyre. It can burst a tyre. It can force people to avoid the pothole on the road as well, which in itself can cause an accident all on its lonesome. So potholes are one of the main reasons we would see damage to cars. Generally speaking, most cars are put up with all kinds of terrain and environments, but once there's enough potholes and speed bumps and things on the road, it changes how the car's dynamics work, and then you're kind of screwed. To 2019, Volvo V60 will have petrol engines. Yes, it will. Volvo are not going to put diesel engines into any future cars when they've run out of this run of diesel engines. I've still to drive a Volvo in Ireland in petrol, so I'm still waiting for the petrol ones to appear. They better be fuel economy vigilant, because their Volvo XC40 is a lovely thing to drive, but really economic as well. So the petrol ones will have to be that way. They'll probably be PHEV. Maybe some of them will be electric fairly shortly. Volvo are on a bit of a run at the moment. Now, Volvo are pulling out of the journalistic end of things, so you need to be a little bit cautious in that. That's not to say that they won't give us cars anymore, but they're not going to take part in car shows, and they say they're not going to have car launches like they were doing before. So they're not going to bring journalists to a place and, you know, let them go wild with the car for a few days. Instead, they're going to launch it straight to the end user. So that's a little bit odd, I think, on Volvo's behalf, because as a journalist myself, I'm usually involved at some point. Like Peugeot now, we did a survey at the end of the Peugeot thing to find out whether we like the suspension, the handling, the gearbox, the seats, the things. So they're using us, our knowledge is being used to compare the car to other cars. So a lot of car companies, like most of the car distributors here in Ireland, the people from Mercedes may have never driven anyone else's brand of car unless they want it. They have to go look for them. Their training would be very limited on the brands of cars that are out there and what options they have. They're only looking on paper as to what way they sell the stuff. We drive the car, so it's a totally different vibe that we give off when we're talking about the cars and which one there are too. Don't forget to check out, like I said to you earlier on, check out clearwater.ie, the website. That is our beautiful sponsor that keeps the lights on every month. It's very important to keep the lights on. If you want to keep the lights on, it'd be wonderful if you were to go through the links below, or you can use Super Chat here as well. There's links down there for PayPal, Patreon, and Bitcoin. All of Bitcoin is not worth a whole lot these days, but PayPal is the way most people seem to like doing this. You can also use Patreon though, which is a drip feed, so a small monthly fee. You decide how much you want. PayPal is a single fee, just once off sort of thing, whatever way you want to do it and however you want to do it. It does matter. It really, really does matter. It keeps the whole thing churning along at a rate of knots. It's very important because I don't get advertising anywhere else, and YouTube advertising is not really worth a whole lot these days, to be honest with you. So it does keep everything on. I don't have a website for advertising. There is a website, but it doesn't have any ads on or anything, so there's an awful lot going on in the background. But if you can support the channel, or if you are a business or a singer, I actually had a singer approach me the other day about sponsorship as well. It was kind of weird. But if you want to sponsor the channel, you can approach me on that, and we can figure out what way you want to sponsor the channel and how you want to do it. So, or if you know, or you work for a business that feels like sponsoring the channel, that's fine too. Anyway, do you see VAT to be claimable on petrol in the near future? Dear God, Paul, I wish the government would listen to me when I'm telling them that's exactly what they need to do. Yes, it has to happen. The reason we're in this right now is because the EU and Ireland gave special dispensation to diesel drivers. This is the reason we have a problem with diesel now, right? We allowed them to be able to claim the VAT back. We put lower surcharges and lower taxes on diesel. We allowed all of that to happen, so we encouraged everybody into diesel. So 93% of the market right now is still diesel. We have to equal the playing field, so we have to lower the VAT and the charges on petrol to bring it down to the price of diesel, and then we can claim the VAT back out of diesel. Can we do anything to push it? Yes, you can. You can email your local TD. Most people don't do this. I don't know why. Whoever your local TDs are, you've got probably 2 or even 3 or 4 of them, right? Email them all the same email, and your email is, I want in the next budget, I want to lower the VAT, or come up with a suggestion. Give them all the suggestions you can. Write it clearly. You're not trying to argue with them. They will try and do something for you. At least you get an answer out of them. The more people who tell their local TDs this is what they should do, then that's what needs to be done. Now, I've emailed the Minister for Transport, Shane Ross. I've emailed all my local TDs. I have 4 of them, and town councillors and all that sort of stuff. So I've emailed a lot of them trying to get them on side on this. What I want to do is to lower the VAT and tax on petrol to match the price of diesel, so diesel and petrol are the same price at the pumps. That's number one, step one. A step two then is to allow businesses to be able to claim the VAT back on petrol purchases as well as diesel purchases, with a view that at some point we'll be able to claim back the VAT on electric purchase as well. So when a business buys electricity, see, they can already kind of do that. Electricity bills for a business are actually VAT claimable, so they can kind of do it at the charge of their own business, but not at the charge of somebody else's business. So we need to kind of keep continuing pushing those 2 points. They're the 2 points to do for this budget. This upcoming October budget would be brilliant to do this in, because right now petrol and diesel is the same price up the north of Ireland. It's kind of the same price in England. It's still offset in France. I was in France a couple of weeks ago. I was in Monaco a couple of weeks ago, and it's still different prices, petrol and diesel at the pumps in France. But they do their own. They got their own oil supply, so they've got a weird way of pricing it anyway. It's cheap in Spain, but we need to do it here. We need to keep that going here. If we don't keep that going here, we're going to end up with another 12 months passing by, and we still haven't done anything about the amount of money going out in petrol sales. That should be there for us. Just a quick little break here for a mention for our sponsors. This review is made possible by clearwater.ie. And why not a mention for me as well? That is actually my little thing. I've set it up. I must change that actually. I've so much editing to do. Good God, there's so many videos to come out yet. I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know where I'm going to fit them all in, but I will fit them all in as best I can. I'm off next week to test the brand new Ford Focus. I'm going to zip down as far as Nice. I actually seen it while I was down there with, what were we driving? Oh, Peugeot. I was there with Peugeot, where, depending on where you're from. I was down in that area, and we actually, as we were driving back out of the mountains, we came across a fleet of Ford Focus all driving towards us. So I'll be down there. It looks really good. It looks really good. It looks like the Kia Ceed, or the Kia Ceed looks like it. I don't know which, but it looks really, really nice. So I'm looking forward to driving the Focus, because the Focus really needs to shake its ass in a big way. The Fiesta's really nice, but the Focus really needs to pull the finger out and be really good now at this stage. I'm just waiting for the 4 million that later became 1.5 million promised in the last budget to result in a single new charge point. That's not going to happen. I'm telling you, I'll say it again for you, right? What's happening is right now, the ESB are running the network into the ground. They are not repairing anything. They're not building anything. They're taking more of them offline. What has to happen, and what will happen in the next 12 months, you can mark this on your calendar, within the next 12 months, the charge network in Ireland will go up for sale. So it'll have to be sold off, has to be privatised. It cannot stay the way it is. It has only got one supplier right now, only got the ESB. And what they do is they put it up for sale. And as they put it up for sale, it'll be worth nothing, because they'll have run it into the ground. They want to build a single new terminal. They want to repair half the ones they've got already. And they will discourage people from being in electric cars until the ESB put it up for sale, and then they buy it themselves. The ESB are going to run it into the ground until they can buy it back. Sounds wild, but somebody has to own it, boys. And right now we have the best charging network in Europe. I know, I've used the other ones. The reason behind that is because we only need one card to open any of the terminals. We just get an ESB card and it opens any terminal in the whole country. We can charge a car anywhere. Try that in the UK. We need like 8 or 9 different cars to get across the UK. It's ridiculous. Hi Bob, what has more practical boot, a Skoda Superb hatch or a Karoq? Skoda Superb, bigger boot by a long way. It's much deeper. If you're going to carry bikes or something in a boot of a car, Superb is going to carry them inside the boot. The Karoq is actually a very big boot, but it is a 5-door hatchback size boot, so you're talking probably smaller than an Octavia. I think it is smaller than Octavia. Probably is. Karoq wouldn't be a huge boot now compared to Octavia or Superb. So Superb would be the one there for the biggest boot. Superb Estate is the biggest boot I ever knew. Great big gigantic car. Filled everything into it and then some. And 5 people as well. Cross says they pissed away the SEAI's advertising fund on a new face of electric advertising campaign that doesn't appear to advertise anything. Correct. This is going on the whole time. Because we have too many quangos involved in everything. I mean, look at the RSA and the NRA. They're like the same thing nearly. The RSA give you penalty points and yet tell you to slow down and do all this, slow down boys. And the RSA sponsor advertising companies to advertise videos where they blame young men for the accident that's sponsored by AXA. Do you ever see them? Slow down, boys. You lads, you're dangerous on the road, you lads. If you're a young lad, now we're going to surcharge you up the hole with the insurance. This is what happens in this country. But also among that is the SEAI giving out grants to the ESB. It's just there's so much crap going on around the edge that all of that needs to be cut out of it. There's too many little birds nipping away at the budgetries that are out there, and the people who are paying the penalty are me and you, the ordinary Joe Subs out there who have to still drive their cars, get to work every day, have no community way of getting there. There's no communal way. There's no good bus service, no good train service. Train prices are going up, bus prices are going up, everything's going up, and yet the government just sit on their hands and let the SEAI, the RSA, the NRA, and anyone else you want to throw a little point of finger at there, just let them wander around the place and go, yeah, you don't need to worry about that. We'll put it off for 2 years. Grand, we're just riding the wave of it now. Jazzman, good name. You need an extra Z though on the Jazz. Jazzman. Anyway, 2013 Renault Clio RS versus Volvo C30 T5 R design. I'd buy the Volvo. Just me, I prefer Volvo over the Renault. But the Renault will be more fun to drive. The Volvo is a lunatic, but it's a safe lunatic. The Renault is just a lunatic. There's very little safety stuff. It's fun though. Good fun. Renault's going to be a little bit cheaper than the Volvo, but I would prefer the Volvo C30 will be a future classic, without a shadow of a doubt. I met an air stewardess the other day who had one. Really, she's lovely. Watched her, Bob, watch your videos. I forgot what her name is now. Jan, I think. Jan. Really lovely woman. She's an Aer Lingus air hostess, or whatever you call them, air steward, or I don't know what the proper name for them is these days, but she has a Volvo C30. It was really nice. Very, very pretty car. Hello, Bob. What do you think of a Kia, Hyundai, and FCA merger? Any truth to it? This would seem on paper to fill product line holes. I think we have enough mergers, to be honest with you. Kia, Hyundai don't need anybody. They are dominating in the European market right now. I don't mean that they're number one sales across Europe. A lot of people still don't buy Korean cars in Europe. Like the French still buy French cars. Renault, Peugeot, they're number one. In France, the Germans buy German cars and so on. But you can see the Koreans starting to slot in like 8th, 7th, 6th somewhere. And you can see it in this country. They're up there in number one. The most sold car last year was, I think, the Hyundai iX35 or something. So, or Tucson or whatever, one of those cars. So there's a huge going on. But to merge with FCA is that's Fiat, by the way. That's quite a big step. That's taken on a partially dead duck. I know it's sorry Fiat, but like it's a man. The sales aren't exactly skyrocketing. I'd love to work in a Fiat dealership because anybody walks in through the door is definitely there to buy a car. They're not going to tire kick a Fiat 500, right? But you'd have so much work to do to take over FCA and to turn it into a profitable group and get the mafia out of it. It's a really hard thing to do because Fiat is run entirely from Italy, and it's a tough ask out there to do that. And the product line isn't as strong as it should be. Their Tipo didn't take off the way it should have. It's a good car, great car, but it still hasn't gotten anywhere. And then they don't have the sales support. Well, they don't have the kind of group support in this country particularly. They run a very small ship, maybe 3 or 4 of them up there, trying to get the whole thing done. So it's a tough ask. It would probably solve a lot of Fiat's problems, but would probably cause a lot more problems in Hyundai. ESB is not remotely the best charging compared to networks like Fastned. I've used most of those networks across the EU myself. The biggest differentiation between a good and bad network is the number of rapid chargers per site. I don't agree with that. Rapid chargers, the thing I had about rapid chargers all along was they're not to be used every day, right? Fast charging a battery, turbocharging the electricity in the battery shortens the life of the battery. Trickle charging a battery always makes the battery last longer. No matter the battery, no matter what kind of battery it is, even if you go back to truck batteries where you would have had standard plates inside and ions bouncing off them, and the ions got stuck to them and they couldn't charge anymore. The biggest thing to make a network operational and make it work properly is that you have charging stations where they are required, number one, and number two, that they're accessible by anybody who gets a chance to use them, and that fast chargers are available on main routes across long distance haulage areas. So you shouldn't be driving around Dublin and then once a day firing onto a fast charger. You should be doing that charging at night time. Fast charging is meant to be something that's done on a rare occasion. Tesla even tell you that about superchargers. Don't be using superchargers the whole time. They tell you that the whole time. Look at what happened in Nissan recently. They didn't put a cooling system into their Nissan Leaf, and now you can only charge it twice in a day. But you're never meant to charge it once in a day. That's why they didn't put in the cooling system. So it's not, that wouldn't, a bad network is not one that doesn't have many fast chargers. A bad network is a network that where you go to a place and there is chargers there, but you haven't got a car to open them, so you can't charge no matter what. That doesn't make any sense. Fastnet is probably one of the better ones in Europe. But if you drive from France to probably southern Germany, you're going to go through maybe 8 or 9 different kinds of suppliers just to do that in an ordinary car. Not with Tesla now, because they use superchargers, their own network. In the UK, you drive from Land's End to John O'Groats, you're going to need at least 8 to 9 different kinds of suppliers cards to get what you're looking for. So it's just a pain in the ass when there's more than that's the horrible part. Imagine going to a petrol station up to town today with your Volkswagen Golf and getting there and realizing this petrol station doesn't have petrol for a Golf. It only has petrol for a Ford. That's what effectively what happens after a bit when you have enough suppliers in the electric car market. Cruiser Zone, is it just me or do you hear nothing about road debt figures like we used to? Are they down? They are down. Road debt figures are always dependent on how you count them, right? So the problem behind road debt figures is they don't tell you how it happened. So we have no information on whether how many people died by not wearing a seatbelt, how many people died from drugs, how many people died from in the back passenger seat of a car, in the rear of a car, where the front passengers fully belted and the back passengers weren't and went through the windscreen. That was the death. So even when you quote road debt figures, sometimes they don't make any sense. And this has been my problem with the RSA for years. Now I've talked to the RSA about this before. I'm not the only one talking about the RSA about this. We don't know whether a motorcyclist, how many motorcyclists were killed, how many pedestrian cycles were killed, how many people just walking home at night time. We just don't have those kind of figures that flesh it out and tell us more detail. So they've kind of eased up quoting road debt figures on the radio and on the television, 300 people, 400 people, whatever it is. But they are down. But that is down because some of that's down because seasonal changes, cars are getting safer. People are becoming more speed aware. There's less speeding going on in the country. I'm not saying speed is a result of death. That's a lot of crap. That doesn't make any sense. You're not going to die because you're going faster, but your risk of dying is getting higher the faster you go. But if you count them the right way, if you change your figures, I saw a thing this morning from the AA. Actually, that's a good point. I just saw it this morning and it bothered me because it's on behalf of the AA. So I'll read out the beginning. So verification comes from Conor Faulkner of the AA. It actually came out from a man called Barry Aldworth. It's really good. Every Sunday I get a press release from the AA. They do it because they want to sell more insurance and because they want to sell more roadside assistance. Don't forget, the AA, whenever they comment about insurance, they sell insurance. So whenever Conor Faulkner goes on the radio, and he's on the radio all of the time, to say how bad it is for the consumers and how the government have missed the opportunity to regulate the insurance industry, he's speaking on behalf of the insurance industry. He works in it. He's in the AA. Anyway, the press release this morning says behaviour on Irish roads worse according to the majority of motorists. Remember that word. Majority of motorists says that behaviour is getting worse on the road. So when you start to drill down, you suddenly realise that a survey of 4,000 Irish motorists undertaken by the AA Car Insurance said that 31.2% of respondents strongly agreed that motorist behaviour had worsened in the last few years. And you're going to read this tomorrow in the paper. This is going to be quoted in the paper. They surveyed 4,000 people and they asked the question. What was the question? Do they tell you what the question was? No. I don't see that. Anyway, The question basically was, do you think driving's getting worse in Ireland or better, I suppose? And most people go, oh God, it's worse. Of course, when you ask them, they're going to say it's worse anyway. But they only asked 4,000 people, but have quoted that to be the majority of Irish people. I just find it a little bit weird that the AA is allowed go on to the national airways, go on to television, go on TV3, go on. And I like Connor. I know Connor. We follow each other on Twitter and everything. I know him. I've no problem with that. But there's no balance to it. There's no one who's not part of the industry commenting on the industry, who's not part of the insurance industry, who's not involved in the insurance business somewhere, commenting on the business industry. So kind of bothers me in that respect. I've seen so many sportages around nowadays. Which one? The new one or the older one? Yeah, because there's a new one out and there's an older one out. And both are very popular, and there's a lot of importing going on. So just bear that in mind. There's an awful lot of Kia Sportages being imported. Not wrong with import, by the way. Don't get upset by import. Not saying nothing but imports. Nothing terribly wrong with an import. I would say now, if I dug around enough, if people wanted to supply enough money that I could do a bit of digging, I bet you I could find out there's enough Irish cars on the road that are clocked will be as many as the import cars that are coming in clocked. I'd say they're all about the same. Thoughts on importing a 2011 Vauxhall Astra seem good value. The Vauxhall Astra 2011 is good value because it's not a great car. It looks good, but it's not a great car to drive. Also came with some problems in it too. Oh no, that was the bigger one. Wasn't that there was another one that went on fire, which was the Zafira went on fire from 2011. So I don't know the Astra did. Maybe not. Good car, but they're not great to drive. Not a great amount of options in them. They're a wishy-washy kind of car. You like the look of them. They can be really pretty and nice, but they kind of miss the mark on a few things, like the back seat room, boot space, the shape of the boot area isn't great. They were in the middle of losing a lot of money at the time, and I'd say that's why it looks a bit weird. Good car though, no problem with that. But if you can get a really good value one, I have no problem with that. Like if you're saving a few €1,000 by getting it in the UK 2011 and you can put it up yourself, that's okay. But if you're looking for a driver's car, the Vauxhall Astra isn't it one of my favourite looking cars, but not a great car to drive. Adrian Adnan Youssef says, what are people's thoughts on this? Does putting like 15 to 20 pound of fuel in your car fine? Should I always just fill up the tank? From a weight perspective, Adnan, from a weight perspective, you will get minuscule amount of better fuel economy with less weight in the car, right? So if you put less fuel in the car will do better fuel economy because of weight. But it does mean you have to go to the petrol station more often. So like a fiver's worth of fuel will go further than a fiver's worth of fuel when the tank is full, but only slightly. If you want to really save money, and I mean really do it, there's two things you can do immediately. One is empty the boot. My wife drives around with a Seat Leon full of books in the boot that are going for recycling and clothes and things. It's full of stuff. Like there must be another human being nearly in the boot of the car, right? But save weight. Take anything out of the car that doesn't need to be in the car. Leave in the jack and the spare wheel and things. They're all necessities. But besides that, take out anything that doesn't need to be in the car. Save weight. Number one. Two is servicing. Service the car. Do it yourself. Learn how to do it. There's a series coming from me now very soon about how to service cars. But learn how to do it yourself. Learn the best ways. Use the best equipment you can get. The best oils, the best oil filter, and so on. Right? If you have to just get a service at the dealership, do that, but you won't get the same results. But three, and this is the biggest one of all, it's how you drive. If you drive sharply, hard, and you're always accelerating hard, always braking hard, always braking all the time, always leaving everything to the last minute, you'll use more fuel than someone who drives smoothly. If you want to save fuel, you need to drive like a chauffeur. The old-fashioned chauffeur, very patient, very slow to pull away, very gentle acceleration, everything done gently, you will definitely save fuel. Plus, slow down. Most cars will do better fuel economy at 100 kilometers an hour than will at 120. They'll probably do better fuel economy at 90 kilometers an hour versus 120. So it's all about slowing down and getting things smoothly, and you get better fuel economy. Filling up the tank will save you fuel, but only because there's slightly less weight in the car. It'll be a minuscule amount, I reckon, though. Unless you're driving something that has a 100-litre tank or something in it, then 15 to 20 quid is like, you might as well be pissing into the tank at that stage. With sort of EV purchase options being pushed out now, with purchasing vehicle but leasing a battery or motor, I'd be fast charged every time if a penultimate life wasn't my concern. See, that's the problem. We need to find a way to be able to recycle the batteries on the other end. We want the life of the battery to last as long as humanly possible. And even Renault have given up on that leasing the battery stuff. Never going to work. I normally fill up every time, but in my logic, a full tank weighs more, so a slightly lower MPG over time, who only keeps, say, a quarter to a third of a tank at a time. That's true, but you would have to be fairly pedantic, Paddy, now, and write down mileage after mileage and distance and time taken and speeds and stuff to see that recovery. Over the lifetime of a car, 8 or 9 years, yeah, you're definitely going to save some money, but over the couple of weeks and the amount of effort required to do it all the time, it can be an awful pain in the hole. Raji 1976 says, I only ever do £15 fill-ups. I was always told bring in a tank and having it sit in your driveway is pointless. It's true, yeah, I suppose. It doesn't really do a whole lot. I mean, petrol doesn't really go, well, it does go off after time. It loses its explosive necessities over time, but you're talking about years. So petrol lasts, if you turned off a car with petrol in the tank, you could probably go maybe 6 to 8 months and still have ignition ability. A diesel doesn't. A diesel will be looking to get a month, maybe 2 months out of it before it starts to clot up. It turns into this a cloudy looking horrid soup, and it won't go through the tubes. So it can be pretty, if you leave a diesel sitting in your driveway for long enough, it might not start at all. You have to use the old manual pump inside and stuff to get it going. But petrol will last up to 12 months anyway, at least, before it starts to, it'll cough and splutter, but it'll go. I only use my car, say, where that just jumped up, hold on a second. I only use my car, say, once or twice a week, and therefore just pop into the petrol station and put £15 in, and that asks me the week that I need to do. That's kind of what most people do. My wife is the very same. She'll wait till the light is on and the car is sucking air, and then she'll put €5 in it and drive on a bit further. She drives like a dealership. Only enough fuel to get around the corner. RSA site for last full calendar year, 157 fatalities. Were 66 drivers killed, 26 passengers, 30 pedestrians, 20 motorcyclists and 15 pedal cyclists. See, there's the information you can get, but the circumstances of each of those is not necessarily clear. So we know 30 pedestrians died in a row, but were they killed by a car, or did they jump off a bridge, or how did they die? 20 motorcyclists, were they in single vehicle accidents? Did they go over through ditches, or were they hit by cars, or did they go under trucks? 15 pedal cyclists, same question applies there as well. So, and the 26 passengers killed, were they killed in the same, 26 passengers, were they killed in the same crashes as the 66 drivers, or were they killed in separate crashes where they wearing seat belts? Were they front seat passengers, rear seat passengers? You see what I mean, Andy, by those kind of questions, that as a journalist I want to know more detail so I can find the story. There's a story in that. That 66 drivers killed. Were they alone in their car with the pedestrians, or was a pedestrian involved? Did any of those numbers attach to one another? Was there one driver who killed 2 people on a motorbike, and there's 22 motorcyclists? So numbers are weird like that. But 157 fatalities is pretty good, and it would be down, of course, from last year. That's exactly my thought. To fill up the car cost almost £80. I don't see the point of me filling it and then just leaving it in the driveway. Yep, fuel price fluctuations just enough to mean you could lose a few quid for every full tank. Adds up over a year, plus something about fuel evaporates slightly while you're sitting around. That's true. Very little. If you left it in the sunlight in an open topped bottle, it would evaporate very fast. But in a fuel tank, it's such a minuscule amount actually evaporates out. It'd be a tiny amount. The new Sportage, they look really nice with their 4 ice cube fog lights on a GT line. They do actually. I really like that, Jim. I like the new Sportage. A really good car. If ESB charged today for access, they'd struggle to net 50k in revenue to meet the 3 to 4 million a year in costs. Number of rapid charges per site is good, analog for both locations, wait times and reliability. I'd say they wouldn't even make 50k. I really don't. I think most people just charge at home. If you remember, once upon a time the ESB had Gold Shield Homes, which was a certification given to a house to say that they had the most efficient way of heating the house. It just happened to be that those houses could only be included if they had electric heatings inside them, which is a Gold Shield home. So once they were heated by gas, were excluded straight away. Which is what the ESB is doing right now. They're just going, yay, we have electricity. Yes, of course, we all want you in electric cars. Yes, right now, please, because we have all the money. Grid connection availability for multi-rapid charger sites tends to keep sites super close to the motorway primary route network. Correct. There is a bit of a backlash as well. I was talking to a man the other day who owns a petrol station who has a rapid charger and 2 standard slow chargers. I won't say slow chargers, but ordinary chargers. But he says that the amount of times that he gets to the amount of money he makes back from those chargers is minuscule compared to what those chargers are costing him in giving over those parking locations to those cars. He makes little or nothing out of it. The majority of Nissan Leaf drivers, it's Nissan Leaf he primarily sees, pulls up, gets on the rapid charger and doesn't even come into the shop. They just get on the rapid charger and get off the rapid charger and drive away. So he makes nothing from those people. And when I did the Electronomus event down in Kerry, I drove electric cars, particularly the Volkswagen Golf, e-Golf, the i3 and Renault Zoe and stuff. We drove a few cars. We drove down. I met people at every charge point. We met different people. And the one down in Cork had a queue of 3 Nissan Leafs. And one guy just brought a book. He was just going to sit there for his 20 minutes, fill up his car with his little book. He wasn't going into no shop nowhere. So, there's an element of the private sector has to pick up the can for building and giving over space to these chargers, but they get nothing back for it. It's cost 20 grand for one of those chargers, so it's not cheap. We're still on the MPG question. So the max MPG I get is 30. So when I put like £15 in, I'll easily be able to get around 70 miles. Sounds about right. I can't wait for your video on servicing. That would help a lot. That is on the way. We have to film. We're going to film a series of 8 videos on different elements of servicing a car. We're going to do it, I think, with Pilsen Auto up in Sandyford. They've got a great service area, and they're willing to let me get into it and give me a ramp, which is very unusual. And they're going to give me a master mechanic, and we're going to figure out how to do this. So it's going to be like an Ed China moment. But we're going to do standard servicing. We're going to do things like brake discs and brake pads. We're going to do an exhaust system. We're going to do a general radiator change. We're going to do gearbox oil. And we're going to do something else. I think it's 8. There's 8 videos total, I think, out of it. One of them will be valeting as well. One of them will be how to valet and how to do your paint work, with sanders, with the paint buffers and using the correct materials and getting it right and doing it properly and getting a gloss shine on your stuff, and interior valeting and get rid of smells and air conditioning system, all that stuff. We're going to do the whole thing over like 8 videos. I'm going to film all of 8 and then we're going to put them out as a series of videos. So it will be a little bit further away. It might be in the autumn before it comes out, but it will happen, and it is going to happen. We're going to film it over a period of like 2 or 3 days. It'll be really good. It'll be really good. We're gonna get a camera crew and everything with it, which would be wonderful if we get your support for that video, which would be absolutely fabulous. If you could click the links down below for PayPal or Patreon or Super Chat, even here, it'd be really brilliant. Every single penny you spend here goes back into a video at some point. Everything goes back into it, and the giveaways and everything else we do as well along the way. So please, if you can afford to give anything, whatever it may be, as little as €1 upwards, would be brilliant, through whatever service you can muster. Where were we? Well, I skip forward again. I hate what does that. YouTube, seriously, man. I just want to scroll from where I was, but instead of scrolling from where I was, it goes boom, right to the bottom. Adrian, I get around 23 miles per gallon, plus the petrol stations aren't way off my route. If your nearest is way off your route, then it's different. Plus I drive sensibly. You see, driving sensibly, that saves you all the money. The lowest I ever got is 12 miles per gallon, but that was me being super annoyed. Oh yeah. Get a Toyota or a Lexus hybrid. Why? They're not the only hybrids, but yeah, they're good hybrids for sure. I'd get a Prius if I was going to get a hybrid, really, at the moment. The current model Prius is actually quite nice. I kind of like it. I know I'm bit alone in that nearly, but I do kind of like it. Speaking of servicing your car yourself, a friend uses a Draper oil extractor pump. It sucks the oil out through the dipstick pipe. Does it sound like a good idea to you? Yes and no. There's two schools of thought in this, right? So your sump on the inside is covered in oil as well, and that helps the lubrication system of the car. The oil sump shoves oil up into the piston system and allows the entire lubrication system to work. But also the sump is there to catch sludge, so heavy stuff falls to the bottom. And as oil ages, it gets more sludgy on the inside, and it starts to come down on the inside of the sump. Now, I've seen these suck-out pumps have been around for years. You can actually make one if you want to make one. You can use an ordinary pump, and you put a tube in the back of it and just pump, and the oil will be sucked up anyway. But it's really good, it's really fast, it's really efficient, and there's very little mess in it, but it never gets all of the oil out completely. You're never going to get it all out. You're going to have to drain some of it out. So if you can do both, if you can use that to take out most of the oil and open the sump nut underneath to drip out the rest of it, then fine. If you can't, then doing that for one service, yeah, okay. Doing it for all your services, no. I would certainly want to clean out my sump at some point at that. It's no big effort to take out the oil nut and open it up and drip it out properly. Always do it when the car is warm. It doesn't have to be hot, but warm. So tick the engine over so the oil becomes more liquidly. So it's all heated up liquidly. That's not a word. Liquidy. So it's all heated up and it's all rolling around inside. So you get that lovely warm oil that should come out. Then when you open the sump, it'll all come out in one shot. It's fairly quick. But you can use one of those pump things, but I wouldn't use it every time. Bob, seems to be more people driving with dirty grey clouds pouring out of their exhaust. I suspect they've had their DPF removed. This makes me very angry, especially if I'm right behind them. Yes, that is a problem. People do that. DPFs are often stolen as well because unfortunately they've got platinum in them, which is a very precious metal. So people steal them and hope to get the platinum out of them. It's actually really hard to get the platinum out, lads. Don't worry about it. You'd have to cut the thing open and there's very little platinum in it anyway. But yep, people do remove the DPF. Also, that's down to servicing. Grey smoke out the back is generally coming from the exhaust system being put under huge pressure, and it's allowing all that smoke to come out in one go. So massive acceleration. Black smoke is generally burning oil. Blue smoke is generally burning pistons. So you're not burning all your fuel. All the fuel is burning higher up, and it's burning the top of your pistons. You're getting blue smoke out the back. Realistically, all you should ever see coming out the back of a car is steam. So, you know, when it's on a cold morning, you see the white smoke coming out. That's just steam. You see that down there, that's fine. Any other colour smoke, probably something wrong with the car or something they've done. But the DPF, taking the DPF off, honest to God, does nothing but give you more power. It pollutes the whole world. You go from an EU6 regulated car to an EU1 regulated car with a DPF. It's an absolute disaster zone for the environment and people. You are literally giving people lung cancer. That's, sorry car industry, but your diesel cars and your cars in general do that for their air quality. But only if you're standing on the street behind the bleeding thing there. Anyway, VW Passat estate or Skoda Octavia estate, two very different cars. Their Passat is a bigger car than the Octavia. The Octavia is like a Golf estate. Think of it that way around. The Passat is more like a Superb estate. But the Passat I might have a Passat over the Octavia. Octavia suits me better. I've always liked Octavia. Octavia estate is a lovely car. You buy a DSG, and if you buy it in that kind of there's like an electric blue with some red line on the back and a bit of a roof rack thing. Looks like a rally support crew car. It's actually used as Tour de France cars and things. You see them there, and so is the Superb. Gorgeous car. But I'd probably have the Skoda Octavia, but it's not really a fair comparison because a Passat estate is like a Superb estate. Skoda all day, every day, says Istad. Well done. Adrian, save yourself loads and buy the Skoda Octavia estate. Sorry, there's a lot of Skoda fans in today. I've never owned a Skoda, but heard lots of them. Yeah, Skoda's a great car, to be honest with you. Cheaper, more features, and usually better build quality. Look at that. And I see Skoda, man. What's going on with Skoda? You're everywhere today. I'm riding a Skoda bike as well, and I have Skoda gear. It's terrible. Skoda give me a little Skoda, look, a little tiny pump. Look at a little tiny pump. Yeah. Not deadly. Oh, I've just blew the top off. That's a dead little pump. It's like a telescopic thing. It's got Skoda written on it. I've turned upside down. Sorry, I had the wrong way up. There's Skoda there. And I got a little toolkit as well. is a tiny, tiny little Skoda toolkit. I don't even know half this does. But there's little nuts and bolts and screwdrivers and Allen keys and some sort of I think that's for taking off spokes or measuring spokes or something. But it fits together like that's really good, and then it fits onto your belt there in the back as well. It's just a simply clever, you know, the usual thing. But yeah, I'm doing the road race on a bicycle. The end of this month, 28th of June this month, I'll be doing the Ring of Clare, it's called. Just Google Ring of Clare, you'll be taken to the Skoda site there. I'm going to be dressed all in Skoda gear. I'm cycling for 160 kilometres. I may need an ambulance and an ice pack for my balls. Simple as that. Just as... Whoa. Anyway, I'll get through it though. I normally fill the car out of fear that if I don't, then the next day it'll be 5 pence more per litre. Of course, that worked out against me the opposite few times. I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference. I think you need to take an average price over a year rather than looking at the price every time you're going to fill up. It's nice to fill up at the cheapest possible price wherever you can, but like it's hard to predict where it's all going at the moment. I think we're going to see a rise in petrol prices again as we come into the autumn, as the weather changes and people start to look for oils again. You know, paraffin, home heating oil, and so on. It always changes the price. This time of the year, I always end up going on the radio towards the end of this month, beginning of next month, and talking about the forthcoming rise in petrol and diesel prices. I hate to see where it's going to go. We're already at nearly 150 a litre in petrol, 130 something a litre in diesel. So it's not cheap at the moment anyway. So if it goes up more, it's going to be crazy. Dermot O'Brien, off topic, comes with Peugeot 308 2018 or Subaru Impreza 2018. I'd go Peugeot 308 unless you have some reason that you really like Subaru. Subaru's going to be more reliable, but they are much more basic cars. Even the plastics, the way they're put together, they're not as good to drive. No, there's the obvious. Subaru Impreza is not as good to drive as a Peugeot 308. Because Super Imprezas aren't STIs anymore. They're not fast rally cars anymore. You can get them, but they're not. That's not what they are. They're just a 4-door saloon these days. That's really it. So go Peugeot 308, a nicer car. Generally, you'd be happier in it for a longer time as well. You could go the Impreza hatchback, but it's a funny looking car, isn't it? Really, it's kind of weird looking. Hi Bob, what do you think about the GT86? I'm thinking of buying a new one. Should I consider something else? You could. GT86 is a really good car. They're not fast, but they are entertaining. Now, it is a lifestyle car. Don't forget, GT86 has only really got 2 seats in it. You will fit stuff behind you, but probably not adults. Tiny boot and fairly okay fuel economy because they're very, very light. Grip is minimal because it's just Toyota Prius tires on it. So it's a fun car to drive, and it certainly sets a statement out there, but it's just it's an oddball kind of a car. Is that asked which model Impreza? They do 3 that are all different cars. That's true. Richard Fitton Perkins says only 30 miles per gallon. My Skoda Superb does over 60 daily and 75 on a long haul. I would agree with that. It's pretty good. REMPG from Brian Cullen. What's it worth to anyone? I get precisely 40 miles to the gallon driving short journeys in the suburbs of Dublin in a 2-litre diesel Opel Insignia. That's not bad. If you can manage to do that, then that's deadly, because 40 miles per gallon in city driving is very, very good. Andy FX7 says, hi Bob, just popping in and say hello. We'll listen later with a few cool ones. Just wondering, Bob, if all your Skoda out cycling is that promoting a brand, do you think? It sure is, but it's not to do with cars. I love cycling, but there's no way on the bikes that I would have here, like the yoke I have is 10 or 15 years old, that I could even remotely achieve cycling 160 kilometers. Like I ran this year with Kia Race Series, so I had the Kia jersey on me to run for that as well. But again, it's not to do with cars, it's just a brand. The car companies are doing it themselves. And Skoda has always promoted cycling. They've always done cycling. You look at the Tour de France this year, it's absolutely littered with Skoda Superb. So as promoting a brand, yeah, that's great, but nobody's paying me any money. Like Skoda's not giving me any appearance money or anything for this, so it's not like that. That's not how it works. I'm into cycling. I'm into promoting fitness and trying people to be healthy. I think you can be mentally very, very strong when you're physically healthy. And anything that stops men and suicide at the moment as well, and you know, gets men talking about fitness and gets men talking about their appearance and the way they feel and the way they act and the way they behave is brilliant. And if that can be done through cycling, and like this morning I cycled 53 kilometers this morning. I met 9 people on it. All of them knew who I was, weirdly. And 2 of the guys that I met out were like in their 60s and cycling bikes from the 80s, and they were dressed up like Sean Kelly, you know, like the proper cycling outfits, and they were pedaling on the road and they were happy as Larry. So that's more what I'm interested in, the promoting a brand. It just so happens that everything I'm wearing for the event is going to say Skoda on it, even the bike. So, but if that means I get to do it and get to promote in some way, promote myself and promote what I do on this channel, and still promote mental health and the awareness of people out there, then that's fine by me to be able to do that. As long as no one's paying me to say that I like their cars, that's okay. That's why you can support this channel and keep it free, so I never have to ask anybody to say I like their cars. There are links down below. You can find me on PayPal, which is the main one. It's bobflav@thenextgear.com. If you ever want to email me, just go over to PayPal. There's a link down below if you want to just click that. But go over to PayPal, put in that email address. You can send any amount of money, big or small. There's also Super Chat here on YouTube. If you want to do that, just click the little dollar sign that's down there below the chat. Or you can use Patreon, which is like drip feed. You can do €1 a month, €2 a month, €5 a month, whatever you want to do. And it all helps to keep the channel running and free, so I can get on and create, and I don't have to think about where the next bit of money is going to come from no matter what happens. So it's brilliant in that respect. And it also means that I get to expand the kit and equipment and plan things like this service video that's coming up as well. I get to plan that out and make sure that that's actually going to happen. And there's so many other videos that are on the bubble at the moment as well, so we're trying to get them all done, but we need the budget to do it, and budget is always the thing that drags it all down, because you can't ask people to come along and supply their time and their effort and point cameras for you and do all this sort of stuff without trying to at least compensate them for travel expenses or something out of it, you know. So it's impossible. It's just me. You'll see from the update video I did a couple of weeks ago, which is my channel trailer now, that it is just me that does all this, this bit, the video, the live feed, the videos that are filmed every week, the drone shots, this podcasts, all that stuff. That's just me that does all that. So that's why I say that I don't look for money from the car companies at all, because that means I get to talk about their cars any way I like. Where are we? Before I got into a rant there. They're fragile. Take one a drive and see how it feels. The 308 will feel more solid drive. I think I'd be the same. The 308 does feel a better driver than any of the Imprezas out there at the moment. Not built for our market, Subaru Impreza, I would say. Never was. New thoughts on the new Hyundai Santa Fe. We'll see when it comes out. It looks nice, but then everything Hyundai does at the moment looks great. Doesn't necessarily mean that it is a great car, but it looks great. I like the i30 fastback thing at the moment. That's quite a nice little car, that thing. Not a fast. It's just the shape of the car. It's not fast. But Santa Fe is going to go well for them, I think. If they could just settle down on the names, it would be brilliant. Tucson for Santa Fe. Then they have the iX35. Then they went back to Santa Fe. You know, just confusing. Bob, what car, 2018, Subaru Impreza or Peugeot 308? Did you ask me that a minute ago? Anyway, I'm going Peugeot 308. That'd be my thing. I'd use the extraction pump after every other oil change. I wouldn't use it to remove some plug, as the heavy flow of oil helps draw out any stuff at the bottom rather than final light trickle. There's another point as well, is also valid, to go at Andy's point there, is that if you open a sump nut and you hear any metal coming out, or you look at the oil, you can see any metal inside the oil, you can predict a problem coming that you won't see by siphoning it out. You won't see that the metal would never come out of the oil sump. Metal in the oil sump can be something that's either catastrophically going to happen or has already happened. But you might see some metal filings, and there's things you can do to get that sorted out before anything else happens. Metallic race blue is that colour, the Skoda Superb. That's right. That's a really good colour. I really do like that. Thoughts on a facelift Nissan X-Trail? Nissan really need to sort out their range very shortly. I was talking to a dealership the other day who said he only really has 2 cars to sell at the moment. One is a Nissan Qashqai, the other one's a Nissan Micra. The Juke is there as well, but nobody really is talking about that. And the Nissan Leaf is unavailable. Like, you just can't get any of them. So problems after problems. So they need an X-Trail and they need it out now, not later. Facelift, don't know. X-Trail never really did it for me anyway. It always looked a little bit weird, very obvious thing. So it wouldn't be top on my list. If I was going that kind of route, I'd probably go to Kadjar or something. Renault's a nicer thing. Skoda has more space aside but worse quality of materials. I don't think Skoda has worse quality materials than anybody. But anyway, in the pocket of Skoda for a set of bike tools. Well, actually, it's a bike and a whole set of gear and race entry and lots of stuff. But I'm never in the pocket of Skoda in the first place anyway. I have a 2016 Skoda Super. Everybody's into Skoda today. What's going on with all the Skoda drivers? Everybody hears from Skoda. Everybody, all the employees of Skoda turned up today to pay attention to this on the service. Hi Bob, what are your thoughts on the next generation Auris Hybrid 2019? Strongly considered one. Great channel, by the way. Thanks, Byron. You're very good. Byron Masters. Auris Hybrid. I never liked the Auris Hybrid, the ones with there. It serves a really good purpose, but it is a utilitarian kind of car. If you can make it work, it's brilliant. I mean, if you can make hybrids work, it's brilliant. I would be more inclined towards the Prius, but it's challenging looks on the Prius. A bigger car inside, though, mind you. Auris is quite nice. Kind of like the 5-door hatchback. It's, you know, it's that kind of Corolla, old Corolla version. Nice car, good to drive, quiet but fairly basic and fairly ordinary in those respects. But other than that, as a hybrid, it works perfectly well. Eric Watford, RE fuel prices. I've come across diesel at unusually low price at the pump, which I'll always be cautious about. Like anything, if it looks too good to be true, then it probably is for a reason. That's true. Generally speaking, if you're going to have dirty diesel, you will detect it depending on how much which you're putting into an empty tank. So if you have half a tank of diesel and you put half a tank of dirty diesel on top of that, you probably won't get that many problems. You probably will, over time, it'll coke up. Over time you will get a problem or two, but it will take a long time. But if you're nearly empty and you fill up with dirty diesel, almost immediately pulling out the forecourt, you will start to hear the coughs and the splutters of an engine, and all of a sudden it won't work anymore. A petrol car will put up much worse fuel quality than diesel. Diesel needs to be cleaned and has certain amounts of additives in them. Like 50% of diesel now is additives, or more even at this stage. So, you know, it's half of it's made in a chemical factory. So it needs to be ultra clean for it to work properly. Petrol, on the other hand, is just a series of explosions that drive a drive shaft. So it's all pretty straightforward. Richard says, I'm also very impressed with my 60 brake horsepower Up. Great car that Up. I love the Up, which I use for travelling between schools all day, averaging 62 to 64 miles per gallon. It's down to how you drive them. That's absolutely true 100% of the time. Almost every car can be improved by how you drive it. Say It Me, Skoda Citigo and the VW Up have always been three of my all-time favourite little cars, because they are at 100% of their power all the time, and they're fun all the time, and they're tiny and they're nice. I know the reason they don't want to put in the windy back windows is weight and, you know, cost and things, but it's just that one of my favourite cars is the VW Up or Skoda Citigo or Say It Me, any one of them three. The question had to be asked. Andy, you're dead right. Andy FX says, no problem, I accept your logic, and the answer to the question has to be asked. I felt you're right too. But no, Skoda, no car company has ever paid me money to talk about their cars. That sounds wild, doesn't it? But it's true. They don't, generally speaking, if a car company is sponsoring an event, and if it's a running event or some sort of good event, and I think I can get behind it, I will. As long as it's doing something for the community and not necessarily always about marketing, I'm okay with that. And the Skoda Ring of Kerry thing was something that came up a few months back when I was talking to the marketing manager of Skoda. He said they were doing it. They did it last year, the Ring of Kerry and all that. And I missed one of the races earlier last year, and I said, look, I'd love to do it, but I don't have a bike for it. There's no way I could cycle 160 kilometers on the piece of crap that I have. So I let it go. But then they came back and said, listen, we'd love you to come along and do what you want to do at it. And I thought I'd make a film out of it, make a video of it, do some training videos, do some Instagram yokes, maybe start up a little YouTube channel on getting fit. I'm very into men, when men get over 40, that men feel less invincible and they stop taking all the chances and they stop looking after themselves and they get chubby, and then it all goes downhill from there. So anything that improves the fitness of men over 40. I mean, I used to do the run gear, and the run gear, which was all about running for men over 40, It was hugely successful, and I used to do that with a man called Paddy Common. Paddy Common is the marketing manager for Volkswagen Ireland. So I've always done this hooking up a car company guys to do things, because they bring a level of something to it, and they're human beings as well. So that's all part of it. But if it improves me and improves this channel, or improves something around the edge of that to do with men who are often overlooked at the moment, particularly with mental health, men are completely ignored on mental health, and predominantly in this country, the majority of suicides are men, boys and men. So if I can show young men that they can be better without having chemicals in their blood, without any sort of protein shakes or any sort of stuff, and if I can show men over 40 that it's possible to get fit no matter how unfit you are, I think that's cool. And if cycling does that for me, and Skoda happens to be the brand I have to wear to make that happen, that's okay. But they're not paying me any money to do any of this. Brian Cullen says, Bob Ori, the 40 mpg in the Insignia 2-litre diesel, that is driving very carefully, often watching the current mpg figure closely to train myself to get better fuel economy. That is true. You need to. It's a mindset you got to change to make that happen. But once you figure it out, once you figure out how to drive fuel economy properly, you'll have no problem doing it from there on out. Richard, that figure of 40 to 60, lost that there. Around town in your Octavia seems a little high, 60 to 64 mpg. That's achievable if you really want to do it hard and do it over a long period of time. I'd say you do it. What year is it, Richard, and what exact model? Hi, Bob, says DSDZG. Good man, DZG, good to have you aboard. He's in the house. 2-litre TDI or 150 SE Business Estate 6-speed manual. Now, there you are. Have you ever heard of an official reason from Audi as to why they stopped putting dipsticks for engine oil under the bonnet for owners instead of wanting to put onboard computer to be used instead to read? They're not officially. It basically amounts to get out from under the bonnet, signed Audi, which is what they don't want you under the bonnet because, okay, so there's two good reasons behind that. One is often a klutz will go under the bonnet. I mean, a mechanic that has nothing at all to do with being a mechanic. A fella who once upon a time serviced a 1974 Mark II Ford Escort and thinks he knows everything about cars takes on a 2017 Audi A6 3-litre TDI bi-turbo and can service that as well. And makes a balls of it. And then that person who owns the Audi will bring it to Audi and go, that mechanic made a balls of it, can you fix it? And then it's under warranty and all sorts of things. So that's one reason. But the second reason is most car companies make more money from servicing a car than they do from selling cars, which is why dealerships still exist, right? Sorry, dealerships, if I'm giving away trade secrets here, but this is just true. So basically, any dealership who sells cars has a big service department, and often if you look around, you'll see that the service department in some cases is bigger than the sales department, and there's more people working in it, and there's more money going through those tills on the service end of things than there is on the sales end of things. So if a car company can put themselves in a position where they discourage you for the lifetime of the car from servicing, that's what they want to do. They want you to stop servicing. They've been training you for the last, and this isn't a conspiracy theory, but they've been training you for the last more than a decade to stop servicing your car, to go to dealerships. Go to your main dealer. Make sure you go to your main dealer now and get your car serviced. Main dealers will look after your car better than anyone else. Some of that is true. Some of it's not true. But they've been training you over all this time to do that, and they've also been training you to, always replace your car every 5 years and so on. So there's a number of things they've been trying to do. But the main one is to get you to stop servicing your car and to make dealerships the place to bring your car for servicing. And in actual fact, right now, cars have the capability of telling the dealership that it needs a service, and the dealership phones you and goes, your car needs a service there in the next 200 kilometers. Will I book you in for next Wednesday? Okay, so even in that respect, it's been taken away from you. So even the point of looking for a light in the dashboard is not to do with you anymore. Now the dealership does that part. So everything is going back towards the dealership. And I promise you, over time, this will be the demise of dealerships. Dealerships, if you really want to continue existing like you do right now, like your father did, like your grandfather did in your dealership, you want to continue doing that, it is customer service will continue that operation. It is definitely not maximizing the potential of your servicing industry. So there you go. There's the best advice I can give you, and I don't attach myself to any dealerships. Do you like the 1958 Plymouth Fury in red? That's a really wild question out of nowhere, but yes, the Plymouth Fury is gorgeous. The Plymouth Grand Fury is even nicer, if you manage that one, which is Starsky and Hutch's car, I think. I'm nearly sure it is. Yes, 1958 Plymouth Fury is a beautiful, beautiful car. Most Americana muscle cars of that era hold a special sort of place in my heart. I don't know why. It's probably because I grew up on American television. It's probably because I grew up watching shows like Knight Rider, even films like Smokey and the Bandit, Convoy. All these kind of shows are out there that put vehicles as the number one thing in the car. And go back through, or in the show, go back like Fall Guy, Starsky and Hutch. What was that other one was called? Another duo. They were two brothers. Anyway, they had another BJ and the Bear or something was called. It all had a car that was in part of it. So I always kind of fell in love with the idea of Americana and American cars in general. They're crap to drive, but they just make all the greatest noises in the world. And they have some brilliant engines. All the low horsepower, great engines though. Thoughts on the Hyundai Tucson facelift? We'll see what happens when the iX35 Tucson Santa Fe. It's all coming from Hyundai. Lots of stuff going on with Hyundai right now. They're going through very big model refresh. They have to get over their South Korean, North Korean buddies up the road there are doing some weird stuff. We'll see what Hyundai pull out of the can at the moment. I know there is a Hyundai Europe, but realistically all of their detail comes from Hyundai Korea. I hope someday to visit. I'd love to visit North Korea before it's gone, but it's kind of gone already, nearly. But I'd love to visit Korea in general. It looks like a wild place. Seems interesting. Hyundai, if you're listening, you can set it up, I'm sure. Brian, sitting on a motorway at 70 miles per hour on adaptive cruise control, the superb best so far has been 76.4 miles per gallon over 100 miles. That's wild. Adaptive cruise control actually does work, but you do have to be very patient to use the thing. But once you get used to it, it's very easy. Hi Bob, I'm new subscriber. Well, welcome Mike Burke. I'm glad to have you aboard. And loving the channel so far. Real life information for real motorists. Can I ask if you've heard of any feedback on the USED 8th generation Passat, i.e. a common problem? I haven't. No one has come screaming at me in the comments from that kind of stuff. 8th generation Passat in the used form is there's going to be 100%. Now, Volkswagen had some DSG issues a few years ago, which was because they used a dry version of the DSG, or was it a wet version, and now they changed to dry version, or was it dry and they changed to wet? But I think that was more like generation 6 or 7 of Passat that came up with that problem, and they were all solved. So generally Volkswagen are pretty quick with recalls. They're pretty quick at getting things done as well. Their dealer network's very fast, so shouldn't have any problem in that respect. 8th generation Passat is a good car, a broad car. Looks well, very stylish, classless kind of car. Anyone can drive it and I'll be happy. If you can get in a mechanically sound DSG 2-litre TDI, you're going to be sorted forever if you can put up with that. But the petrol engines are actually quite good in Passat. Try to get the estate one if you can with the roof bars on the top. You'll like the extra option that gives you for space and things inside the car. Clever car, really nice. You'll have no problem keeping that forever. As long as you keep it serviced, obviously. Like any car, it needs to be serviced regularly. What do you think of Honda Civic 1.6 diesel among other diesels like VW TDI? Thank you, says Birkin. I can't pronounce your last name. Apologies. It looks like it's German, maybe. Honda Civic 1.6 diesel is an incredible engine put into the wrong car. I kind of, whatever it is about Honda, I love them, and then at the same time I kind of go, why did they make it so complicated? Their interiors are really busy. They're really like angles and lines and twists and turns and all these different kind of edges to them, and the exterior is kind of the same as well, but yet that engine does 70, maybe 80 miles to the gallon. If you buy the estate one, it's really clever. Unfortunately, Honda took away the magic seats, which was the flip up seats. The seats in the bench in the back used to flip up and they would lie down and go flat and do all sorts of things. And it's gone now. That was a mad selling point. They just removed the whole thing. It was weird of them to do that. But the engine is really good. If Honda would sell the engine to Volkswagen or someone, you could have it in a Passat and it'd be brilliant. But great engine from Honda. It's a tough one because I don't know where diesel is going to be in 3 years' time. I don't know what's going to happen next with diesel, No one does. No matter who tells you they know what's going on with the, oh, I'm an insider and I know what I'm doing, I'm a journalist. That's a lot of crap. Nobody knows what's going on with diesel. The market is moving, it's twisting, it's turning. We just don't know where it's going to land. I don't see it going away, but I don't see a good future for it. I don't see a solid like 8 or 10 or 15 year future for it. So it's a tough place. But nothing wrong with that diesel engine, the Honda. If you like the Honda Civic, you like the look of it, I wouldn't be a fan of the new one. But if you like the look of it, you're not going to go wrong with it. There's a totally different discussion happening between a group of people in the comments. If you want to read through the comments, loads of people are commenting and having lots of different questions there as well. Funny how many Skoda drivers are on here today. I'm telling you, I don't know what's going on with the Skoda drivers. They're mad today. I'm on my third Superb. Here we go again. 2-litre 150 DSG, and had 7 Skodas in total. Find it hard to find alternatives, as it's closer to an A6 than a Mondeo, in my opinion. It's true, Skoda have been doing some good stuff. I hope to keep it up, would be the thing that I can keep pointing at, is that I hope that Skoda continue to move that forward and not kind of fall back into making cheaper than Volkswagen cars. That's where they have to keep going forward in that respect. Agreed, Eric. Apart from one, Insignia had all Passat B5s, Superb B5s, and new Superb 3 for the last 15 years. Bulletproof. There you go. I can't see. It's not just me who likes Skodas a lot, right? It's just not me. It's look at all the comments on the Skodas. TF says Lexus 2.5 V6 did 16 miles per gallon average. Lexus's 300h long run achieved 68.3 miles per gallon. Averages 52.7. I would believe you. Lexus does very well, but it does require an awful lot of patience to make that happen. I think it requires more patience to make it happen there than it does anywhere else. Wow, Jeremy Clarkson posted a photograph. Why did I get a message when Jeremy Clarkson posted a photograph? Did he send it to me directly or something? You can support this channel in every possible way in the comments and links down below. So if you've got links down there, you will see that you can go to PayPal, Patreon, and Bitcoin thing, and you can support it in some way. You can also do super chat here on YouTube, wherever you want to do as well. It'd be absolutely brilliant if it did. But if you click the link for PayPal down below and donate whatever you possibly can, no matter how small, no matter how big, it would be absolutely delightful that if you did that, because then we can keep the channel continuing free like it does right now, and all this advice, which is always free for you every Sunday. This will go up as a podcast after this show as well. Once the show ends, I convert this into an audio file. It goes out on podcast. You find it on Podbean. It was on Spotify, and then Spotify shut down their podcast bit again. Now they put the podcast back up, then they shut it down again. So it's a Spotify issue. It's not my issue. It's Spotify. But you will find it on Podbean. You find it on iTunes. You find it everywhere else. It is coming to Spotify eventually when they pull their finger out and start doing it properly. Spotify. Another question: does anyone have any contact in Garmin Ireland? You know, Garmin, the sat nav company and watch company. That'd be brilliant. If anybody has one, could you email me, please? bobflav@thenextgear.com. Get in touch. I have a suggestion for you. Richard, the official figures from Skoda via Parkers said that the best combined figure for your car is 61 to 68 miles per gallon. These figures are under optimum conditions, not reality. You'd be surprised. They can be pretty close. It depends on how you drive it. Starsky and Hutch car was a Ford Gran Torino. I know, I was confused them two. Ford Gran Torino is correct. You're right, Richard. I do always correct, because I think it's the Grand Fury I'm thinking of. There is a Grand Fury as well. So if you're getting 64 miles per gallon around the town, then I'll do the lottery. Next available opportunity, you probably win it. Hey Bob, ain't seen you for a while. I've been right here, Jamie. I've been hanging out in a cave in Thailand. Oh well. Send us an invite, sure. Go live somewhere so we can watch what you're doing in Thailand. You want to watch it? If you're not diving, don't be diving in the cave in Thailand, by the way, Jamie. Frank Metcalf went to the classic and vintage car show in Terranure last Sunday. Great petrol head day out. I was there last year. Did a live Sunday service from that last year, actually. I couldn't make it this year. Did my absolute best, but could not make it down to that. I was called away on other things last Sunday, but I couldn't make it to that one. But I'd love to go. It looked great though. I did see it on Instagram afterwards. By the way, I'm on Instagram if anyone wants to follow me there as well. It's just Bob Flavin on Instagram. You find me there. Loads of pictures, lots of live chat. Bit about bikes now, a little bit about bicycles and things as well. So you can have a look at what bike I'm on. Brian, I brimmed the car after Stroud Nottingham round trip. Did the math, got 70 miles per gallon real world. See, it very much depends how you drive it. I know I've gotten better MPG from a Toyota Prius than Toyota ever said I could. They thought I was lying in the video and did the tests and then came back and went, God, you did get that. I actually did. It is possible, totally possible, to get way beyond what they say. It very much depends on the driver and the conditions. Conditions, all conditions being idle and everything being normal and normalising all your stuff on a well-serviced car and a light right foot and predicting ahead and making sure you're braking at the right time and accelerating at the right time. There's no reason why you can't beat most of that stuff. Andy says, I've had many Skodas and had been able to get them all to say all sorts of amazing MPG figures in the 80s and 90s overruns. Never below 65 miles per gallon, but brim to brim, real world high 50s, which is good too. I remember when I had the Skoda, the 2002 Skoda Superb diesel, which Skoda put on the press fleet. That taught me I got 80 miles to the gallon the whole time. It was great. It went like 0, 80, and then just sat there at 80 and then went back down to 0. So I don't always believe the readouts, but like you usually do get better fuel economy from older cars because they're lighter, they weigh nothing, there's no crash zones or anything in them. Matthew Dunn says Nissan Navara or Toyota Land Cruiser Prado. I would Navara for the reliability, the utilitarian feel. Very, very comparable car. Very popular in Australia. Often if you look at Australian sales, they'll tell you what cars are reliable very quick, because Australians, anyone who lives anywhere outside of Sydney or Wellington, is it Wellington? No, Sydney or the other, the capital, Melbourne, it's reliability. They want to know about reliability in 4x4, and you'll find that the Nissan Navara outsells the Land Cruiser over there quite a bit these days. It used to be the other way around. Land Cruiser was the number one seller. Land Cruiser is a better driver, a little bit more executive and also a little bit pricier too, but I would, out of those two, I would probably pick the Land Cruiser for myself, but it depends on your needs. If you're looking for something that's totally utilitarian, Navara probably. Next generation Mercedes B-Class. I think I've seen a picture of it, but I didn't pay much attention to it. So many Mercedes coming out. I'm concentrating on the A-Class one, which I do have in a couple of weeks' time, so I'm going to be driving that very shortly. But B-Class was never a big seller for them. It was always a kind of a weird in-betweeny car that didn't make a lot of sense. We'll see if they continue. Mercedes design team right now, interior, exterior, have been exceptionally good work right now. They're murdering all around them. So if the B-Class is as good as it looks, it'll be good. Brian, I don't want the patients drive less than 70 miles per hour and variety treated like a criminal and any other drivers. There's an argument going on there. Stop that. I started to move away from a long line of Skodas due to much narrower gap in their price point with the competition. New Skoda warranty lets down previously. Still eager to see the Mark IV Octavia VRS. I'll tell you what I noticed the other day. I had a Citroen C4 Cactus Aircross thingamajig. Complicated name. But they have a 5-year warranty now, you know, and it's unlimited mileage. That's a big step, lads. That's worth congratulating. Just think about that for a minute. The only one that has a warranty like that in the market is Hyundai. Look at Mercedes, miserable 2 years, you know. I probably wanted one of the worst warranties. Now, I don't mean worst and in that you don't get your stuff done in that 2 years. Of course, you can use your warranty, but just the length of time, 2 years, like. Kia have 7 years, which is brilliant, but it is restricted to 100,000 kilometers. So I could easily do 100,000 kilometers in 2.5, 3 years, you know. So that's the end of your warranty as well. But Hyundai do 5 years unlimited mileage. Now Citroen do a 5-year unlimited mileage. It has been put to the test. I'm not bigging it up right now. I'm just saying that it's nice to see a movement forward on warranty front, because warranty is a very important thing when things go wrong. Might try back. Big step up in proper engines released into form. Bob, RE MPGs, it also depends on how you do the maths. I'm sure Richard's. I'm not sure how Richard does his maths. The only maths I do is I look at the thing at the end of a week and I see how much fuel. What I do is when I get a press card, first thing I do is reset the trip meter to 0. Then that starts the clock for me. So I want to know during the week how many miles or how many kilometers I've done for the whole week. And then I look how much fuel I have left. And then I look to see how big the fuel tank is. So Renault sometimes will put a 70-litre fuel tank in their car. And so by the end of a week, you've got half a tank left. You go, wow, the fuel economy of this car is absolutely incredible. But actually, you've got a fuel tank that's gigantic. Other car companies who put a 55-litre fuel tank into it, and that's fine. Then you have Opel, who put a 50-litre fuel tank, or a 50, or even a 48, because they've given over a bit of their fuel tank to the AdBlue system. and so the fuel tank actually starts off smaller. So when you're just driving away from the forecourt, see the fuel tank go down immediately. So fuel MPG is subjective. It's something that every driver gets a different result on. If you look across, and I've done this with car companies, you look across car companies, look at the way the customer records their fuel economy, the way the car company record the fuel economy, and the way the extraordinary customer fuel economy. It's all different. Everybody gets a different result. I have been able to get very good results from cars that I've seen other people say it's really thirsty, and I've seen other people get very poor results from cars that I've said is very fuel efficient. So somewhere between the two is the truth, and everybody has their own experience on things. So it depends on not just how you do the math, but you look at the fuel economy, the mileage you're doing, the actual trip computer thing inside the computer inside that tells you your average fuel economy over time. It's actually fairly accurate these days within reason. But realistically, on a diesel car, if I don't get on my week with the car, if I have it for a whole week, if I don't get somewhere between 800 and 1,000 kilometers, then I become very suspicious of how big the fuel tank is and how heavy the car is. In a petrol car, I would expect to get about 600 to 800 kilometers in a decent petrol car. Maybe a little bit more if it's really efficient, but only if it's extraordinarily efficient. So somewhere between all those things, you'll find where the real thing is. Even Andy here says 800 miles before fueling a 2001 Mark 1 Octavia 1.9 TDI 55 litre tank is my personal best in that car, which is over 60 miles per gallon over the space of 2 weeks commuting. Official combined for that car is 54. So he's beaten the 54 litres, 54 miles per gallon. So it's totally possible to do it, just depends on how you do it. Matthew Dunn says, are you into aviation? I am. I was trying to learn to fly, but I just run out of time and patience and money because it's really expensive in this country to learn to fly. But I love, there's a couple of YouTube channels that I subscribe to for their aviation content. One of them is called a Candurist. He's a New Zealand chap with South African parents or something. He's quite nice. Fun for Louie did some of the best content on YouTube for weeks was Fun for Louie and that Candurist fella circumnavigating the world in a Cessna 210, which is really good. I also subscribed to Matt Guntemer, a rich kid from America who owns his own. He was the first youngest guy in the world to fly around the world solo or some stuff. But a kind of a rich kid, but he seems quite nice on the radio as well. He flies a Bonanza, so yeah, I do some aviation. I do like aviation stuff, but I wouldn't be into it. I don't own a plane or go flying that much. No. Insignia has a 70 litre fuel tank. That's a lot of kilometers on a tank. That's true. 70, like I remember, who was it? Give us a 100 litre tank one time. I can't remember. There was 100. I think it was a BMW or something a couple of years ago. And I was going, this thing just uses no fuel. I was driving like the first 4 days. It never went off full. It just sat there full. And I was driving a lot. And then I got to I was nearly at 1,000 kilometers and I still had over half a tank left. And I started rooting around going, something wrong with the fuel tank. And it should be nearly empty at this stage. And I ended up sending an email off to BMW, came back and they said there's a 100 litre fuel tank in that. That's why. That's why it's still going. Never put any fuel in that car, and I did the thick end of 1,700 kilometres that week. It was just a very busy week. I was filming a lot of stuff down in Cork and had to trip back and forward nearly every evening. So it was a tough time, man. Don't forget you can support this channel, and I know we get support of course from clearwater.ie, so if you can tip over to our website, have a look. If you're into bulk chemical delivery anywhere in the country, you can check those guys out. It's really useful if you were to do that. Just go up to the top, open a new tab and go clearwater.ie. Be really good. Because they've been supporting us for a few months now. Of course, my DIY and JG Engineering and stuff, those guys were supporting a few months back. Great to have them back on board as well. But if you're a business or if you are trying to promote something belonging to yourself as well, please get in touch with me to get some sponsorship options here on the channel. It is the biggest car outlet YouTube channel in Ireland by a considerable amount. A very professional channel in all its dealings and all the way that we go on. But if you want to get in touch with me as a business to support or sponsor this channel in some way or another, it'd be really good. If you want to run a giveaway or you want to do something here on the channel as well, there's also options for those sort of things. I often run giveaways. There's giveaways being sent out right now. But if you're just a lone user out there and you just enjoy the content that you're watching on YouTube or the content you're seeing in this podcast, if you go over to PayPal and you put in my email address bobflav@thenextgear.com and donate any amount of money that you possibly can, anything will do, it's fine. Or you can go over to Patreon and click the Patreon subscribe button over there. Not terribly popular in Ireland, I have to say. Don't know why. Or you can just enjoy it free, which is what most people do, because most people put an ad blocker on and then YouTube demonetizes everything. Just everything. It doesn't matter what you do. Just go, oh no, yellow icon. No, you can't. No, money. This is YouTube. We don't pay you money to make your content here. You're kidding. So it's hard to continue going on YouTube, as always. For every creator, it's hard to continue on YouTube. So it's concentrating that community effort I'm trying to do here wherever I possibly can. So if you can help me continue create YouTube videos here and continue to create reviews and videos and all that stuff that's coming up, it'd be really brilliant in some way or another. But also don't forget clearwater.ie. You can use the super chat thing as well. The super chat icon is in the corner of your chat icon there, which goes into the YouTube monetization system as per normal. Where were we? We got a few coming in there. I had a 2002 406 GLX 406, good car. 2-litre HDI 110, 1,045 miles is best. I think at a maximum effort over about 3 weeks. It was a 70-litre tank, but you get 8 litres more in. Master John says, Aer Lingus or Ryanair? I actually spend probably 50-50 of my time now between the two companies. It used to be nearly 100% Aer Lingus at one point, but then Aer Lingus was bought out by BA, and it absolutely torpedoed everything to do with Aer Lingus. So fast, so fast, it went down the hill. Staff are still exceptionally nice. Most of the people on board Aer Lingus flights are gorgeous. They're lovely people to do anything for you. Whereas Ryanair are still in the idea that they're going to rip you off in some way. There's still too many announcements, Ryanair. God, there's still too many bloody announcements. But besides that, Aer Lingus are very good. They have their place. They wouldn't be my flag carrier for Ireland anymore, really. Their customer service is dire. They're you know, you take flights and you're part of the membership program. You're trying to get your points back up. I was in Gold Circle. I had all of the things, and they just changed the Gold Circle to something else, and they just scrubbed everybody's points out like it never even existed. And now I'm back down to 0, and they don't even credit some of the flights. You have to chase them over the credited flights. It's like treating your customers like shit until they go away, until you've got the customers you're looking for. BA is a master at doing it, and they're doing it to Aer Lingus. So Ryanair has my vote at the moment. I flew down with the family on holiday to Biarritz with Ryanair. Beautiful experience. We priority boarded. We booked our seats. I could have carried a kitchen sink with me and nobody cared. It was a great experience with Ryanair. So I have no problem recommending Ryanair for anything. It's cheaper. Generally they're on time, except for when the French decide they're going to go on strike again, which is bloody every Tuesday. Gavin O'Brien says, I normally get 450 to 500 kilometers from my Cooper 280. Well done. But can drop drastically if you have a heavy foot. No joke. This is a very powerful car. Class car, Gavin, his class. Richard, interesting to know that you had an Insignia. I have my 2012, just 3 months, still finding my feet in the way. I don't know why it's after. This message is held for review. Gavin, what are you saying? Indeed, Andy. Sure. That's alright, it's fine. You're just mapping it. 380 horsepower, great stuff. PewDiePie rules. Yeah, PewDiePie. I met him once. Before he was really famous, I met him in Brighton. I think he still lives in Brighton, but I met him in Brighton on the pier. He was wandering around the place. He was famous, very famous at the time, but he was just wandering around. And I went, hey, you're PewDiePie. Would you just recognize him? But we had a little chat for 2 seconds while he was on the thing. He doesn't like meeting people, I don't think. Gavin O'Brien wants to get his insurance, won't let him go 360 horsepower. Tesla Model X versus Model S, both of them are fairly ropey. No, they're alright. Model X is cool, but it's £250,000 in this country for even a remotely good one. And the Model S, you have to buy the 100D 101 to even get the range that you're talking about. The 80D yoke doesn't do half the range, I think. And it's a fairly tired looking design. It's okay, but it's kind of, you know, it's 5-year-old design. It's a bit weird. It's a lot of money as well. I mean, you're still talking about $100,000 for a Model S, brand new. But like, they're okay. They do the job. If you can make electric cars work, you're going to get good range out of it, and you get all the kind of latest tech. The iPad thing kind of drives me nuts. And like the ludicrous mode and all that sort of, it's like a funny way. Every electric car has a ludicrous mode. We just don't call it ludicrous mode. It's the only difference. Pride, yes, I had detuned 130 brake horsepower 2-litre diesel, was good 60 miles per gallon car. A friend had an SRI with 163 horsepower, only did about 45 miles per gallon. Emirates first class would take that opportunity if you got a first class ticket. Yeah, who wants to fly first class really? Like, it's great if you get it for free, but are you mad? $8,000 a trip or something? Man, I can think of better things to spend $8,000 on than lying flat in the bed. It just seems weird. I've flown business class a few times. I've flown first class once. That was years ago, before I was ever in the car industry. But I've flown business class a few times. It's alright. It's alright if you're going a long way. I went to America business class on Aer Lingus, and I got the lie flat bed thing. That was quite nice. But I just slept for most of the journey. I came back on the big one, 380 with British Airways, and I wasn't in business class at all, and it was lovely. Yes, by all means, Brian. Sorry, we're all sorry. There's someone else there. Headless Basis is on Twitter, by the way. If anyone wants to follow him, you can follow me on Twitter as well, Bob Flavin. P100D or 100D. P100D is the Model S, isn't it? Sounds like you have the same engine I had, Brian. EcoFlex, which was minus an EcoFlex. See what I love about the community here on YouTube, and what I've tried to nourish and build over all the years that I've been doing this, is a little community of people who come together to talk amongst themselves as well as the Sunday service. That's what the Sunday service is all about, is the community effort that happens behind the scenes. And every week I see the same sort of names that appear and ask questions, and then there's new people that come for just 1 week and then they vanish again. And then there's these massive group of subscribers who come and do everything. You know, they come and they chat and they talk and they come and they comment on videos and things. That's the kind of community I'm after. So it's that kind of thing I've been trying to develop for a few months now, and that's why the channel is growing. So if you think you can help spread the word of this channel and the good vibes that we give out wherever we can, not just for a single car review. The reason I have 16.5 million people have watched the videos but there's 30,000 subscribers is because people come and watch 2 or 3 videos and then they move off and they don't subscribe, because it's not that they don't want to know more about cars. They wanted to know about that car and they bought that car. That's kind of it. So some of it happens that way, and some of it doesn't, but it's fine. I'm not worried about the level of subscribers. That's growing. It's nearly there, 30,000 subscribers. I think 30,000 would be a good corner. We'll turn that. We're moving towards a 50,000 subscribers, and we'll see maybe 50,000 by the end of the year if I keep going as hard as I am right now. So we're trying to get there. That's the whole point. If you could support the channel, it's even better. That'd be absolutely wonderful if you can use the links down below. And also check out clearwater.ie, the website. VW Fan says, hi Bob, what's the current legislation on exhaust car noise? Some amount of D-heads around my town at night creating so much noise, racing each other. Any ideas? Thanks. There is actually a noise abatement law in Ireland. I'm not sure what the decibel level of it is now, to be honest with you, but I know after 11 p.m. at night time, you're not. It is actually in our legislation. You're not supposed to beep the horn on your car unless there's an emergency, and there will be noise legislation surrounding the exhaust noise of cars too. Now, if you got guys that are doing donuts or doing things that are illegal, in other words, you know, spinning tires and skidding and sliding and drifting and stuff at night time, they're all illegal. That's all dangerous driving and definitely covered by law. That's the time to call your Gardaí or local police officer. If it's just somebody's really loud exhaust system, that requires a special kind of Gardaí who really does not like this kind of behaviour and will get a decibel meter to go and find out how much that is. If it's over about 75 decibels, I think at that stage it becomes an illegal thing. I think it's too loud. As far as I'm aware, I'm not sure the decibel level, but I know there is legality around late night noise for sure in our legislation, which is definitely covered for cars, as well as, you know, house parties and things are also covered under the same legislation. We like talking to you too, Bob. Good man, Richard. It's good to have you here, boy. 2009 Volvo S80 versus 2003 Toyota Corolla. How can you put a S80 against Toyota Corolla? One's from 2003, the other was 2009 as well. Like they're vastly different cars. It's on a different level entirely. I would have neither of them probably. I don't really like the S80 anymore. Toyota Corolla, it's going to be really economical. 2003 Corolla for sure. If you buy the old 1.3 petrol VVTi, you're going to go around the world on it. Great cars. Boring, but great cars. Fast too, you know, they're really quick. Matthew Dunn, do you have a rapid? Do you have a rapid? He's speaking in a Dublin accent there. It's for the Scotta Rapids. Scotta fans abound every year. See, even I mentioned Scotta Rapid and we're all there. Okay, we have gone for the full 2 hours of the Sunday service today. It's been absolutely phenomenal to have you all aboard here for the whole of our 2 hours. You are most welcome to those 2 hours of time. It's been brilliant. Hopefully you have learned something from today. Hopefully you have subscribed at least, or clicked the links down below and tried to support the channel in some way. We rely entirely on your donations and everything else you can possibly get to us, as we don't do advertising around here. But anything you can do to support the channel is always brilliant. Any ideas you have, you can get in touch with me at any time. bobflav@thenextgear.com by email, which is quite regular. It might take me some time to come back to you because I get a lot of emails. But you can also use Twitter. You can use Instagram is probably the fastest way to get in touch with me as well. I'm just at Bob Flavin on both of those out there as well. Don't worry about Facebook. I'm on Facebook, but I don't really use the thing at all. You can also send me messages here on YouTube in the comment section down below. I do read every single comment. I don't answer every comment because there's bleeding thousands of them, but I do read every single one of them just to make sure we're all playing nice and fair. Hopefully you've enjoyed this Sunday, and hopefully the rest of your Sunday will go according to plan and you'll enjoy your GP on TV or whatever it is you're watching as it is. Have a nice little beer tonight. Don't go too crazy. Keep safe and keep each other safe at all times. Until the next time, I will see you on the far side.